Hi and welcome to Astrology for the People. This is an energy forecast for the full moon in Scorpio on Monday the 4th of May at 1:42 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to touch on what the planets are doing. However, this is much more so about the influence that has on the collective energy on Earth and how we can work with these influences to make the most of them and ride with the cosmic tides instead of against them. So we'll get into that now. Welcome. Hi, and for those of you who are regular followers now, welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome. There's a lot going on this week, so forgive me in advance if I get a little bit wordy with the astrological influences. It's to help me kind of stay on track a bit and group what I'm saying into something that's easy to understand as opposed to being a little bit information overload. That's a theme that we're going to see coming up over the next few weeks. We've got the planetary ingress into Gemini taking place. We've got Venus there already. Venus is going to be moving into Cancer. However, Mercury is about to cross the threshold as I'm recording this. And what we're going to see there is as these planets move out of Taurus, being a very earthy sign, very grounded, very here and now and tangible in senses, we're going to lift off up into Gemini, which is an air sign. So everything's going to start moving more quickly again. I spoke last fortnight about a little bit of a lull that was taking place, and it seems that it was very much the calm before the storm. One thing I actually didn't take into account when I was sharing with you last fortnight was the extent to which when the action around us starts to die down, there are no distractions to keep us from what's coming up on the inside. And so this kind of taming of the external forces that happened when the sun moved from Aries into Taurus was offset a little bit by a grand Earth trine. Now I'm going to try and keep this as simple and straightforward as I can, but basically we had Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, who is an orientation point related to the moon. She represents the repressed feminine energy, and also Pluto, who is the soul and the underworld and the evolutionary force and transformation, trining Mars in these three earth signs, Mars in Taurus, Pluto in Capricorn, and Lilith in Virgo. And that's been quite intense. We've had some internal earthquakes, literally, as well as external ones. Big prayers, of course, to everyone in Nepal at the moment. So yeah, what we've seen is as the action has stepped back, more things have come up to become visible to us. And we're coming into a time now, we've got this full moon on Monday with the sun in Taurus and the moon in Scorpio. So this is the full moon in Scorpio. And what we're going to see there is also Mercury opposite Saturn. I promise I'll get out of the planetary stuff shortly. Mercury opposite Saturn. All of these influences combined, we're going to be getting triggered this weekend. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we'll feel the effects of it for a couple of days either side. And what we see with the Scorpio-Taurus axis that this full moon is taking place on is ourself and our own needs bumping up against other people. So it's the continuation of this theme of relationships that I've been talking about in the last few videos. And when we've got Scorpio in particular, what we see are the shadow aspects of ourselves or aspects of the entire of consciousness that we haven't been able to accept, or we've shamed, or we've repressed. And those things show up as triggers. Now, of course, they're not the only things that will set us off. People talk a lot about how the things that we haven't accepted in ourselves get mirrored back, and I feel that is the case a lot of the time. But there are also situations as well where people just genuinely aren't adhering to the way we would like them to be. It's, you know, so it's our expectation that's getting in the way there as well. Just to simplify things down a little bit, bring it back to something really tangible for this weekend. When we are getting set off by other people, there is something that we're not accepting about the situation, and there is also valuable information in what's taking place. So what I definitely highly recommend for this weekend is, rather than excuse me, blaming the other person or attacking the other person, if we can shift into more of a gratitude headspace and say, whoa, okay, when you repeatedly run late, I feel really, really triggered. And that actually gives me some really valuable information about myself. You know, I'm really rigid in relation to time. And maybe that's something that I'm not really comfortable admitting. And so I put all of the attention onto what the other person's doing. Yeah. So there's going to be an interesting journey around that this weekend, with the Mercury-Saturn opposition as well. Mercury being in Gemini and Saturn being in Sagittarius. It's similar to what I spoke about last fortnight, where there's a little bit of an at odds. There's our logical mind that's really wanting to move quickly, and then we've still got this kind of lagging team cruising through Taurus, getting ready to speed up, but things are moving a lot more slowly than some people would like at the moment. And when that happens, we have doubt come up, we have frustration come up, and we have rejection of the present moment. And so it brings us back around to that again. How are we not accepting the present moment? And to what extent are we actually creating our own suffering by our relationship with what's taking place, and by actually assuming a victim mentality, because we're giving away our power around our reactions in that situation. If you can't change the situation, yeah, number one goal for this weekend would be to practice acceptance. Absolutely, particularly still coming up against other people. Other people aren't here to live up to our expectations as much as we would like them to a lot of the time. And there's a real space there for greater acceptance and greater self-acceptance in that as well. Those parts of ourselves that we would prefer to be different, where we would previously have beaten ourselves up. On the topic of this information overload, this is kind of where we're heading now. So this has been a little bit of a reflection on the last couple of weeks and what's happening now. As everything starts to move into Gemini, what we're going to find, my throat's going funny again today. What we're going to find is that the winds are going to pick up. So if you think of a windmill, winds are a really powerful way to harness energy. A windmill is a way to harness the energy of the wind. However, if you want to make best use of the energy that wind provides, you need to make sure that all of your bolts are done up tightly and that the windmill is nice and grounded, or else things are going to spin out of control. I actually went to Indrapilli Shopping Centre this morning to get some library books out, take some library books back for my little boy. And they've redone it in there. I don't know if anyone's been in there recently, but it is insane. It was full information overload. And the interesting symbolism that came up for me in that was going somewhere familiar and something's kind of being familiar. It's like, yeah, well, I've done this before, but some things are really different about it too. And that's what a lot of people are experiencing, not necessarily on a really tangible level, but there's just this kind of underlying sense of something is different, like something has changed and I'm not quite sure what it is, but I feel a little bit uncertain and a little bit anxious and don't know what the future holds. And this is a theme that seems to be getting echoed around quite a lot at the moment. And we are in an unprecedented time in human history. Like what is taking place right now is incredible on an energetic level. We're having to process more information as human beings than we have had to at any point in human history. You spend 10 minutes on Facebook and chances are you'll be exposed to more varied influx of information than someone would have experienced in weeks, months, even years at a time 100, 200 years ago. Purely because of the amount of information inflow. So we've got our tangible experience of that, things that we're actually reading and engaging with and going out in the world and seeing, new things and signs and rah. But on the other hand, we've also got this happening on quite an unconscious level where our energy field, our aura, is getting bombarded by Wi-Fi signals and flashing lights, and it's like, welcome to the future. Hey, I got home from the shops and then a jet plane went over the house. It was just, what? It's surreal. And so there is this kind of energy of surrealness at the moment as well. And it can leave us a little bit on edge because the world is very uncertain, and everything's very uncertain. That's why I love astrology. It's not certain, but it's a little bit of a map, for charting the waters. So what else did I have to share with you? Yeah, so going into the next bit, calming the nervous system. This is something I really need to practice too. Just bringing it all down. And having tools and having some little personal rituals in place. When I say ritual, you don't have to do anything out there if that's not you. If it's you, go for it. If it's not, look in the mirror, 3-4 times a day, stop, take 3 breaths. And just become acutely aware of your immediate surroundings, whether that's your bathroom or your bedroom. And I would highly recommend just taking that time to slow your body down, because if you're tightly wound, you snap a lot more easily. And even with this weekend, it's a great time to start that right now. And really just, calm everything down. Another fantastic tool is the 4-7-8 breath, which you may have heard of. It's a yogic breath, and it's very, very, very popular as a natural treatment for anxiety. You can look it up, but the gist of it is it's 4 counts in through the nose, hold for 7, and then 8 counts out through the mouth. So it's an incredibly powerful breath for activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Basically, it calms everything down. Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight-flight response. Your parasympathetic nervous system is what actually needs to be activated in order for healing, rejuvenation, digestion. And the way the human body is designed, we're meant to have periods spent in both of these systems. However, the way that the world is that we're living in today, the vast majority of people spend a lot more time running on their sympathetic nervous system as opposed to the parasympathetic, and it has a shocking detriment to health. Really powerful tool, that one. I had another couple that I noted, I think, tea and lavender. If you're an essential oils person, bust out the lavender. It will be your saving grace for the next few weeks. Things are going to pick up, and it's going to get fast, and it's going to be a different kind of fast. We're coming into this year, this astrological year. So when I started doing these videos in April, it was fiery, it was driven, it was forward movement. We were getting things happening. Now we're looking at air, Gemini being an air sign. So it's much more whippy and restless and kind of up here. There's a real tendency to get jittery. So use the tools at your disposal. Maybe invest in some calming tea, and it'll be a lot more effective because we've also got a Mercury retrograde coming up. We're in the shadow zone now, which is essentially the space that it will cross over when it goes retrograde. It's still going direct at this point. For those who are new to the concept, Mercury retrograde is when basically in relation to the Earth, it looks as if Mercury has begun to go backwards. So I'll see if I can show you this so it works on camera. So the Earth and Mercury are traveling around, and Mercury is going direct, and then all of a sudden the Earth overtakes Mercury. So even though Mercury is still moving forward, in relation to the movement of the Earth, it appears to be going backwards. So I will go more into that next video. However, this is going to be coming up. So we're not going to have the same propulsive forward movement to kind of soothe our anxieties and make it feel like we're making progress. There's a lot more tendency for frustration and breakdown, and we really want to make sure that we're empowered moving into the next few weeks, because we have a lot of choice as well, and the human will is powerful, and the more that we can make positive choices, healthy choices, the less we do have to suffer. Obviously, that happens across the board. So, pardon me. Okay, you're getting all of me. You get all of me anyway. That's, how I believe in doing things. Okay, so what else do we have? So the other thing I just wanted to give you a heads up about over the next couple of weeks is just guarding against overcommitment. So being aware of your boundaries. This is something that would have kind of come to the surface the last couple of weeks, and these themes still ongoing a little bit. Taurus being resources and time being a resource. I spoke about this last fortnight. So take the knowledge that has been gained, and it's definitely a positive time now to come to a real place of clarity around that and practice saying no, because if we overcommit and spread ourselves too thin over the next few weeks, there is a tendency towards trying to do too many things. Geminis the twins, although most Geminis I know there's at least 5 of them. So yeah, bear that in mind, not trying to do too many things at once and hence not actually achieving anything. And nourishing yourself. We've got a Mars-Saturn opposition coming up at the moment with Saturn in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is opposite Gemini. We've got all of these oppositions happening one at a time, and Saturn can be heavy. Saturn can be stubborn and frustrating. Saturn can also to an extent be shadow, and so it's something that comes up again with this Scorpio full moon, really embracing the parts of ourselves that we'd like to judge. And recognizing that only through owning all of those aspects can we become whole and then give back and focus on becoming egoless. If you jump too quickly to the wanting to, become completely egoless and completely selfless, this is an insight I actually drew from another astrologer, Tom Lesher, who is brilliant. I have to give him props for this, Kepacha. You can't give away what you don't have, were his words. It's really important to, find fullness of self to then be able to give back, to then be able to shine out into the world, as opposed to giving too much and then ending up depleted, and needing to, have a lot of support back then. So I feel I've managed to cover most of what I wanted to share. I know it's been a little bit wordy today. I'm feeling the effects of Gemini already, I swear it. A bit wordy and a bit quick and a bit... so I'd encourage you, if you wanted to listen through to this video again, do it absolutely. If there's been a little bit of an information overload there, I'm not going to apologise, because I don't apologise for who I am. However, I'd encourage you to maybe just take 5 minutes before you launch into another task and go outside and take some deep breaths and maybe pick up a pen and paper and write down any key points that stood out to you. There are a few nuggets of gold in there amongst the bit of jargon and the lots that there is going on. You'll hear me say pretty much every fortnight, go outside and take some deep breaths, because regardless of what the stars are doing, that's always a really healthy habit. I can feel my feet going numb, so I'm going to leave you to it. So much love, so much. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll give you an update on this Mercury retrograde. Back up your files. Now is good. We don't have the retrograde yet, but sometimes technology and that kind of thing. And cars, if you need to get your car fixed, I'd take care of that now, or there will be some real delays and dramas potentially in a few weeks' time, but I'll get to that later. Enough for today. So much love. And keep shining. Have a beautiful day. It's a bit rainy, but I'm sure the ducks are loving it. I'm gonna go now. Bye. See you in a fortnight.